Hello there at the Schwantz27's channel. It's your Lord and Savior, Vince Sampella, here to talk to you about our latest patch to our surprise motherfucker Battle Royale game, Apex Legends. This update kicks off Season 2 called Battle Charge, and it's a fitting name due to the fact that we've all but squandered any momentum that our game had with Season 1, where we disappointed with an incomplete and underwhelming carrot angle system because I don't need a checklist in order to keep playing a game, but then again, that's why I'm superior to you animals that are reward motivated. Even though that stuff is important to you, it's not to me, so I'll save that for the very end while I talk about the things that actually matter, new gameplay updates. You'll notice that there's changes to a few areas around the map, including giant leviathans stomping around, which could have been used as a good Godzilla movie tie-in, but we don't sell our game's soul for promotions like other Battle Royale games do. You can finally figure out where all the flyers went during NHL's free agency, as they're in the newly green shattered forest, a metaphor for how the hockey club doesn't spend any of its money, a new location between artillery and bunker reserved for only the weak that don't want to take the fight at either of those hot drop locations called containment, and a second near bridges that I got as inspiration from another person that thinks they know better than everybody else, like myself, in locking monsters in cages. There's a new legend named Wattson with 2 T's, since she's an electrical engineer after all, as another defensive character in a battle royale offering that's all about constant engagements. Her tactical ability is another nod to Orange Cheeto Jesus, as she could place electrical fences around the map at various choke points to both alert other people that there isn't any decent loot in the area since you've already gobbled it all up, and to annoy people into traversing around the map another route, because everybody loves characters that set up barriers, right? Walk into the fence and get the arc star effect that makes you want to scold whomever the idiot was that came up with that idea. Her passive ability allows her ultimate to be insta-charged by an ultimate accelerant, so now you don't always need to feed them to lifeline like the credit scene in Wreck-It Ralph Breaks the Internet, and standing next to her ultimate will also charge her tactical ability, kinda like a utopia where nobody has a dead cell phone. Speaking of which, Watson's ultimate ability is literally a meme from StarCraft, where she does construct additional pylons that act like a giant trophy system defending projectiles in this trailer, and it's obvious that it is one because it's one, way too convenient for the situation, and two, who actually plays as Gibraltar? Well, glad you asked, because of course I have the answer, as I do to every stupid question from a dumb shit. Both legends classified as thick with 2 C's, as the youngins say. Caustic and Gibraltar were given a fortified passive to have damage reduction by 10% with a previous patch. However, since our patch cadence has driven players away from playing our game, a bug that took too long to patch also drove them away from those legends, so we're increasing the damage reduction to 15%, and they are now immune to slow effects from weapon fire. Additional buffs to these two were in the form of an increased duration by 3 seconds for Gibraltar's dome shield, and for Caustic having the gas slow effect reduced by 50% for teammates. Pathfinder was lumped in with the previous two when we made the hitbox adjustments, but we accidentally made it hard to find a path to actually register damage against this legend, so we fixed the thing that we broke that we did to fix him in the first place. Now Pathfinder's hitbox actually lumps him in with Wraith and Lifeline, which those legends necessitated a nerf in the form of a low profile passive that actually increases incoming damage by 5%. Hopefully went on the same bug in reverse as the larger legends that will inevitably take several weeks to correct. Lifeline got yet another nerf to her tactical healing drone being destroyed by 2 damage ticks from the circle, so you can't hang out in the danger zone like Kenny Loggins, and we've got more circle changes to discuss later. Mirage got a change that I'm not quite sure is a buff or a nerf, but previously his useless ultimate can now be made even shorter by a manual cancel feature if your window licker teammates also got bamboozled. Lastly, in legend changes, Bloodhound got a buff to both the tactical scan to track in real time for 1.5 seconds instead of leaving ghost images, and increasing the angle from 90 to 110 because we're actually being obtuse, as well as having the passive tracker increase the duration from 60 to 90 seconds while fixing some bugs on clues left behind. Guess the Eye of the Allfather got some LASIK surgery. Not only is there a new legend, there's a new weapon, and by new of course I mean one that was in Titanfall 2 is an easy port over with the L-Star LMG. Since in-game care packages haven't been worth the risk, and to trick EA into thinking that we'd be getting some revenue from our game by putting a new weapon in supply drops like some other FPS games are doing, this weapon is available in those airdrops only. Since it's basically the same as Titanfall 2, it will similarly overheat in the hands of those scrubs that can only spray and pray, but by putting them in care packages, shitters probably won't get their hands on it anyways. There's also new attachment beepity bops, including disruptor rounds for the alternator and RE40 45 to increase damage to shielded targets, hammer point rounds for the P2020 and Mozambique to increase damage to unshielded targets, and to no longer make them memes of weapons to give douche canoes a fighting chance when they ignore your Jumpmaster request and land in Skulltown to get skull fucked. As well as energy mag attachments similar to the heavy and light counterparts to increase magazine size and reload speed. To account for this new energy magazine attachment, stack sizes in stash have increased from 60 to 80, similar to the light and heavy ammo, and the initial clip size for the Devotion has been reduced to 34 instead of 44, with the Havoc going from 24 to 32 after it was recently buffed in a previous patch because we didn't quite know what to do with energy weapons until people started ignoring them because they were inferior in basically every aspect. Also with ammo stack sizes, the shotgun stack is now 16 instead of 64 because anybody that needs that many shells in their backpack shouldn't be playing the fucking game. We also buffed other swapped out weapons including the Flatline, P2020 and Alternator in damage for all and better recoil on the latter. The Kraber also got a damage buff, however its rarity has been increased, which is already bound to happen with the L-Star being added into supply drops only. Also with gold weapons, the newly buffed set of 5 that got those new round attachments and the Flatline will replace the current set of gold ones. Lastly, in weapon changes, since we reused its effect for the Wattson Tactical, we also figured we'd make some adjustments to the Arcstar while we're down in that code to increase the delay by 0.3 seconds for those with reflexes like mine, and it will insta down any player without shields now. I mentioned the ring earlier. It now does 2% damage in round 1, where we reduced the size of the circle by 9%, 5% per tick in round 2, 10% in round 3, round 4 and 5 is 20%, and after that is 25% damage per tick to discourage SWAT waffles from looting so many death boxes that they really didn't contribute to. Since damage has been increased, we've also changed how long it takes for the circle to close, such that positioning actually starts to matter in our game. In order to flex your E-Peens, we've not only added stats such that you could put them in your stream title if you really want to alert others to the fact that you're a pathetic loser, and we're introducing a ranked mode for those sweaty E-athlete wannabes. Similar to every other game with a tier system, we're taking the jewelry approach, bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and diamond that gets increasingly toxic and decreasingly popular with the ELO hell for solo queue, probably falling somewhere in gold since you won't be able to carry those without any decent peripherals or game knowledge. The top tier is Apex Predator, which is where all of the players that we've investigated for accusations, but later cleared upon obvious review by people that are not salty in the heat of the moment, will land. That penalty system that people were going Harambe shit about when we first accidentally enabled it is actually essential to the ranked mode, so as to not condone throwing, and players will be rewarded with some piece of flair like Joanna from Office Space. Speaking of rewards, we're finally putting effort into the things that people who want to play dress up with in a shooter will be sure to enjoy. Whether it's recalculous costumes that make you stand out while traversing the map, or skins that obstruct your view with iron sights that resemble a female masturbatory device, it's all there for you to earn that will be a detriment on actually playing the game. However, we did need to add something innovative into our game that will inevitably be ripped off by our competitors when they're demanded for by their consumers, by having emotes when you're dropping out of the sky, which you could use even more times if you're the type of BK Randy that often gets respawned. Oh, and of course, in the minimum amount of effort you come to expect from us here at Respawn, we also added in some new loading screens, which are really just the animated concept art, but we're making it as a reward to reuse some of the assets that we already had to do in order to make our game. At least this time it'll be worth the $10 or 28 if you want to skip ahead to tier 25, since it will take forever to actually rank up the pass, or will it? This time we've learned from our mistakes, which are very rare by the way, don't you know how amazing we are, with having a to-do list to make you feel like you're married, which, let's be honest, it's not in the cards for you. There are daily and weekly challenges that reset at the end of their duration, and seasonal challenges that unlock each week, since that's the only reason players are playing that Fortnite game after all, right? I mean, our game is clearly leaps and bounds better since we're not completely changing the game every single week with a patch. Well, anyways, enjoy this giant update that does actually change the meta to make it feel like a new season instead of some stupid new theme with an event that's bugged out for half the community. Wait, what? Some people are complaining about the patch size being 10 to 20 gigabytes and it will take forever to download? Well, people with shitty internet shouldn't be playing online games in the first place. Plug in an Ethernet cable for fuck's sake and get off the goddamn Wi-Fi. Some people are trying to stream Netflix upstairs, you know.